I think the hugest thing that we're really forgetting here is the lay of the land, right? Did our parents have much of a choice, or even before that? Women couldn't get, I know I've said this before, checking accounts or even lending without a man. And due to inflation and logically, due to the inflation and economy, I don't believe the majority of the modern women have had much of a choice but to move the way they move. Now, I do think there are the rotten apples that ruin the majority of the basket. Sure, that spread that rhetoric with what they're saying. However, I think a man who is cognizant of why we are the way we are, where, okay, relationships are going to require nowadays a woman to work more, to contribute more to the household, is that man aware of unpacking that with that lady to say, hey, are you aware as a modern woman that you've been so on track of pursuing your career, getting money, and all of these other things that you've lost the sanctity of marriage? And that's why I always stand by, I do believe it's been deinstitutionalized due to the economic reasons. So to me, it's logical why it's become the way that it's become, um, due to all of those like solid factors that are happening. Now, Trev, I do kind of feel like you're giving up a little bit too easy because, like I said, I do think that there is a lot of fantastic modern women out there. They just haven't had the chance to meet someone to talk to them about that. Like, are you moving this way because you want to or because you've had to survive? And I think that's not really fair. Um, the video that you were showing, JR, yeah, I think that needs to be taken with a huge grain of salt because I don't think it should be celebrated to have children in a broken household. I do believe that it should always be a man, and you can't be the mom and the dad. You need both of them for sure. But I feel like they slipped and they got up and they got up and they're limping, right? So I think as modern women, we need to take the time to reflect and understand that, traditional values doesn't mean not being able to get a checking account or get a loan. It means being able to lean on your partner in the ways that you need to lean on them while still holding those family values. So I feel like I need to give it grace to the modern woman because a lot of that does need to be unpacked across all races, across the board. Because, yeah, if you want us to help contribute to the household, that's absolutely fine. But this work needs to be done to level it out. So that's my 2 cents.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Which one of those individuals do you think we could save on that panel? Which one?
I feel like I would need to hear more of them discussing this because I couldn't get a
Really?
good gauge. Yeah, I couldn't get a good gauge of how celebrated it is. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't watch that show, obviously, like not regularly, so I don't know them well enough to say that. But I think if you were to talk to the women, not in a group setting, more privately, I think they would be more candid and be like, you know what? It doesn't have to be this way, right? I don't have to sit here and wave the I want to be a single woman producing babies flag, right? Like I do know deep down that just because I'm a modern woman doesn't mean I have to be this far whatever left, right? That's what I think. I think that show is just showing women who are just piling on one another. But if you were to talk to them intimately and separately, I think that you would find different opinions.
Got it. So, all right. The problem with what you're saying is, um, I think you might have misinterpreted what I was saying, right? So, I'm not saying that there aren't women who deserve advice or counsel, right, or direction,
Mhm.
right? I do believe in that. But what I'm saying is that these particular individuals, they old, right? You talking about women like in their 40s, man? They out of here. That it's not worth that type of investment. The juice ain't worth the squeeze, right? Like they already on the twilight of their desirableness. So it's like, what are we even doing if not already beyond, right? Like it's a wrap for these broads. I'm sorry. So there are some people who you can help, but not them. They done up like toast. There's no reason to invest in them in any way, shape, or form, whether it be monetarily, whether it be emotionally, spiritually. They're done. And then
So
they have horrible attitudes, and there's a lot of damage and trauma that you could easily see even from this clip. But I'm familiar with some of these individuals beyond that, right before that. And any man who is capable of changing them has a lot better options than these particular females. So it will almost never happen. And I'm not saying that they won't find a dude. They could probably get married and all that, but it's not going to be a functional relationship that's going to breed upstanding citizens, right? I couldn't see them breeding anything else but a degenerate, right? And that's the problem that I have with that.
Okay. So then to that point, objectively speaking, if we are thinking generationally wise and projection toward the future, especially toward progression, don't you think that that's an area that does deserve a little bit of focus? I know you've sound exhausted and given up, but if they are producing babies, then what are they telling these babies? Shouldn't I don't feel like it should be ignored. I think that it should be massaged more, because if you want more and better for the community, why would you let that thread loose? Why would you let it sit
Because
there?
it's not worth it at all. Those individuals are toast. I can't
And that's a
express that
dicey
enough.
game to play, because in 30 years, they're gonna have a woulda, coulda, shoulda moment being like, well, we let all these women just preach to the choir to do this, that, and the third, and now we're even more falling apart.
But the question is, how could you help change them? Just for
Mhm.
instance, like the lady who started off talking about it, if Trev is correct and she is, let's say, in her 40s, right, or up in age, she stated herself that she doesn't even know what she really wants. She's still confused and lost in life at this age, and that's okay, right? Sometimes we lose our way, sometimes we have to refine it, but how is that everyone else's responsibility to then kind of pick these women back up and try to dust them off and help them find their way? The next woman that spoke, I'm not sure if you know exactly who she is, but just her history and everything that she's actually gone through in front of the camera before social media was even a thing, right? Like, we know so much about her past and her history, and for her to still have this same objective at this age shows that there has been no growth. I think to a certain degree, people are only able to receive help if they're willing to want to change, right? You have to want the change, you have to want the help. I don't think they really want that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it may be good that some of them don't have children. The one that we do know about, she does have a son, I believe.
yeah,
And unfortunately, he might be messed up
yeah,
because of the decisions that she decided to take. But I don't think it would start with helping them. It would start with someone stepping in and helping their children
yeah. And then
if they already have
that's why
them.
I have a hard time marrying. How can we sit here and say, and I'm not black, so I'm not in the black community, but any community, how can we sit
Yes,
here and
yes.
say we care about community, but who's the deciding factor to say these fall off? You know what I mean? That's why I'm having a hard time marrying it, where it's like, absolutely, like you have to protect your future, you have to protect your children. These 304s, as you guys say, are going to be out here running rampant. What are we going to do about it? What's the solution? Right?
I think the solution is
Sorry, I'm
to
just not confident that the solution is to just, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just not.
yeah. I get what you're saying. I think some of the people on the panel are not really concerned. Like, you got two different type of people. You got people that identify as black, but they're not so much concerned with the community like they used to, because I guess
Is that a problem?
according to certain circumstances, we kind of lost hope for the degradation and all that stuff that's just been happening with especially families. So it's kind of more like you just gotta practice awareness, teach your kids awareness, the young man specifically, because a lot of those women, although they're being transparent, they're not really moving like that in the streets or in person. A lot of those stuff that they're saying, they don't say that. Otherwise, then we would be able to use proper discernment and be like, okay, yeah, I don't want to deal with you, but that's why it's real tricky. So if you it's important to just put those women in categories, and a lot of women don't like that. They don't like to be categorized as 304s or for the streets, but just something you got to do so you can be able to notice the signals and common indicators of the behavior you don't want to marry into. So that's a solution for that. The other part is, which you're absolutely right, is for the concerning party, for the black people that are like I want, better for my people. Those people are really going to have to, deal with this, and then I think it starts with, because I think somebody said it's not majority Black women. Then I guess you got to ask, if it's not majority Black women, then what does the numbers show? You know what I'm saying? I think it's important to look at the numbers. Or the numbers
what did the numbers show, Bruiser?
I'm not sure. I can bring it up, but I'm pretty sure there's numbers that may indicate concern. As much as we be on this show throwing up stats, I think there's numbers in the Black community, specifically around Black families and marriage rates and divorce rates and single mother rates, whatever you want to name it, crime rate, whatever, incarceration rate, whatever. I think if you look at the numbers, and this is for the people who are concerned with, I want my community. You look at the numbers and you see if the numbers are concerning enough for you to try to be involved or, more outspoken on trying to make change. If those things are important or those things are concerned, then you try to figure out, okay, well, besides family, because some guys or some people, they'll go and get married and I'm like, okay, I'm out of the fight. You know what I'm saying? I got my wife, I got my kid, Black community. Yeah, but I got mine. So I'm out of the fight. But then you got those who still want to be in a fight. So then I guess you got to figure out, how does those numbers impact other things? Like what influence does they have on, like, economics? Like the more we break up and get divorced, or the more single parent households cause a high crime rate or whatever. So then you got to look at that. Like, is that a concern? And then you got to try to apply pressure in some areas to where you can make change. And I think that's the battle for the people that are concerned. But me specifically, I used to be concerned, you know what I'm saying? And it may come back to me, but I'm more on the line of aligning with like-minded or an individual. So people who want the same result, and they might not appear to be the same color as me. You know what I'm saying? So I figured that and I think it was the military that it kind of expired that kind of mindset, because everybody to my left and right that I was willing to die for didn't come from the same hood for me, and they didn't necessarily have the same color skin, but I was willing to die for them people. So I guess you got to gauge it that way.